Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you are new. If you are new to the channel and you like what you see, please feel free to hit that subscribe button, and then of course don't forget to hit the bell, that way you're notified anytime I put out a new video, which as of late feels like every day. Today we are going to review the most ridiculous thing I have ever purchased in my life. As you can see here, I have one of the boxes, one of two, that make up the 520 oily Brutfuner colored pencils. Now, I'm going to admit, I bought these out of curiosity, out of compulsion to collect everything, and, well, yeah, I just had to try them. That said, I did do a live swatching video a few weeks ago. It was almost 4 hours long. Quite the adventure. And then I have colored some pages with them. I will admit I did not color any portraits with them like I normally do, but I did color 2 pages and get a feel for them. And I wanted to kind of go over this with you. So, I know these are back on Amazon now, which is groovy. When I initially bought them, they were just like they're lickety split and gone. I snagged mine for $99 on Amazon US. At the time I am recording this video, they are on Amazon right now, but they are $129.98. So that's a pretty big leap. And this does happen a lot when a product comes out on Amazon, it's popular, it sells out, it comes back with a big price hike. That said, they do have a 10% off coupon, but I mean 10% off $129 is not going to bring you down to what I paid. So right now you're looking at 24 cents a pencil, whereas I paid closer to 20 something cents, just under 20 cents a pencil. That said, it's 520 pencils. So, I do want to do a couple disclaimers here. By no means do I endorse going out and buying things just for the sake of buying them. I know a lot of us colorists have tons of hauls and all that. I don't want anyone to think that you should ever buy that many things. The reason I'm buying these is curiosity. And like I said, I have a compulsion to collect supplies, but primarily I want to test them for you guys so you save the hassle. And the reason I've taken so long to do this review was I was waiting until they were available on Amazon US, because AliExpress is another option, and I'll link to that, but they're kind of a pain and the price will vary and you could wait months to receive them. So I was hoping they would come back on Amazon so that you guys could order them and get them in a decent time frame, and then of course return them if you don't like them. I'm not returning these because I would like to be constantly reminded of my most ridiculous purchase so that I think twice before that again. But like I said, I do this for you guys, and by no means does that mean this is your fault. I just want to test it, give you my opinion, and, you know, let you know. So, I'm only showing one box. There are 2 boxes. They look the same except one's pink, this one's green. They actually have this really sturdy packaging. I'm actually pretty impressed. So it's a thick cardboard box with like this rope handle. I was honestly impressed at that part. And then you open it up. Now mine are in order now. I had originally done an unboxing video and I accidentally deleted it. So sadly, mine are in order now. But what happens is you get 10 trays of 26 colors in each box, making up the 260 from one, 260 from another. Now, I will be taking pictures of these and putting them up on my blog. I am reviving my blog, I should say, because I have heard from a few of you that sometimes it's easier to read, or sometimes you want a little bit more in depth than the video can show. So I will leave a link in the description below to my blog as well, and you can check that out. I'll snap photos of each tray so you can see the array of colors. But one thing I would like to point out, is they do not come in order. So you'll open the trays and it'll look like they're in order, but once you start looking at it a little closer, they're not. So I had to actually sit there and put 520 pencils in order, and that was not easy to do, and there's a few reasons for that. Aside from the fact that we're talking 520 pencils, they are not very good with how they set this up. So they do have a name, awesome, and they do have a color code here. This is like the world's worst color to show this on. Let's see if you can see. No, I got a darker color. Okay, see the color code here at the end? Oh, the camera's not focusing very well. They do have a color code. Initially, I had thought that was a color family code, but it's not matching up. And you know what? I even turned to Harry at the Art Gear Guide to see if maybe he figured it out, and even he was like stumped. It's initially you're like, okay, G must be for green. This is a blue-green color, but it doesn't seem to line up with how they have things. Furthermore, the number for the pencil is, you're not even going to be able to see it. It's a stamped number here in the wood. Once we get a little closer, I'll see if I can show you. But yeah, so the true number is stamped into the wood. Some people have taken black chalk over it. I ended up just starting to write it with a Sharpie. Like, this is number 13. You can't even see that, so I wrote number 13. So that is a big pain. I'm going to pull out this white here, though. This is kind of an off-white, but I want to show you on the black paper test. But yeah, so they do come in these trays. These trays are actually very sturdy. I mean, they are flimsy, but check this out. Turn it upside down, your pencils are still there. So I was actually pretty impressed on that part. I did buy a shoelaner case that I was originally going to put these in, and then I decided I'm just going to leave them in these boxes. Lindsay, the frugal crafter, did the most hilarious thing where she created her own case for them. I might do that once my art studio is finished, because one, it was a hilarious thing to watch. You got to go watch it. But two, I was like, you know, that might work. So I'm going to put this away. I'm going to get out my usual testing items, and then we'll get into more details. Okay, let's start with the fun part. This is on my live stream. I did a live stream where I swatched all 520 live. Oh boy, I don't recommend that. If you do buy these, please take breaks, please, for your sanity. I think I was about to go a little crazy by the end of that. You can even see I started off really nice, and near the end I wasn't even filling in the boxes. I was gonna go back and fill them in, and I was like, no, never mind. I even started to swatch them on tan-toned paper, because I do like to use tan-toned paper, and it's always nice to see kind of the difference. Like, I mean, check this out, okay? So here we have row 1 and row 1 on the tan-toned paper. See the difference in the colors? That's pretty important. Same thing, like the row 2 here versus the row 2 here. So it's always good if you use a lot of tan-toned, which I do for a lot of things, it's good to test it and swatch it. I'm a firm believer that you should swatch on the style of paper you tend to use the most. I tend to use a very smooth cardstock, so I swatch on a smooth cardstock to see if it'll match my coloring style. And then I also swatch on tan-toned because I use that a lot. Occasionally I will swatch things on black, like glitter, to see the sparkles, but I honestly believe you should still always put your sparkles on white paper if your sketchbook and coloring books are predominantly white. I mean, how many black coloring books are out there, you know? Not a lot. So I didn't finish because, well, I was just burned out. It will be one of those projects I do eventually. So yeah, here is the array of colors. Now, one thing I would like to point out is you have a ton of very similar colors, but they actually provide these in a blending order. Renee over at my coloring corner had pointed that out, and as I swatched mine, I agreed, except there are a few where I feel they're not in order. So some are and some aren't. It's kind of a floppy mess. But basically the point of these is you're supposed to be able to put them from number 1 all the way to 520 and they'll be in order. And that's what I did initially. However, you can see it's kind of all over the place. I am working on putting these in color family order because they have them in like a color gradient order. See here how it kind of gradually makes a gradient for you. So if you're really new to coloring, let me zoom in a little. If you're really new to coloring, these gradients are really helpful. Like you could pick from any of these and be good to go. However, look how close some of these colors are. I mean, these first 3 here are practically the same color. Starts to get a little darker here, but 5 and 6 and 7 and 8 are all about the same as well. 10, 11, 12, very close. I mean, so see what I mean? These are all so similar that, I mean, good news is you run out of one, you're not going to notice much if you replace with another one because they are very close in color. So, fun fact, you can actually buy the 260 set separate. So, one's in odds, one's in evens. And if you do that, then you have a better selection, whereas when you combine them, you have a lot of overlap. So you could do that. I bought the full 520 because I have full set syndrome and I wanted to test them all for you guys. So overall though, the colors aren't bad. I mean, loads of yellows and oranges, tons of browns. I mean, look at all those greens. You got trays and trays of greens, trays and trays of blues, loads of pinks, including these very vintagey colors, which were cool. Reds, they kind of went on an overkill, but whatever. Loads of purples. I mean, look at that. It's just multiple trays. And again, each tray has 26 on them. That's a lot of purple. And they even had green grays, French grays, and cool grays, which I actually found pretty nifty. Now, near the end, you get into the metallics, and then you also have a bunch of neons. I don't tend to use metallic pencils or neons, but for those who do, you actually have a good amount of them. So that's what the color range. Again, does anyone need this many colors? No. No, you don't. No one needs this set, period. This is definitely an I want situation. But by no means am I saying go out and buy this. You absolutely need it, because you don't. One thing that was brought up was that the 120 Brutfuner oily, I love saying oily because they do that, oily colors matched up with the 520s. So I went back and took a look. Here's the deal though, the numbers do not. First of all of the 120 squares are triple digit, whereas the Brutfuners are like 0, 1, 0, 2, yada yada, goes on. And so a few people had mentioned the color numbers were actually matching with these color numbers. So I decided to take a look. Well, here is number 4. This is number 4. They're not even the same color. If we want to get into, let's see, number 3, that's number 3, not the same color. Number 90, the 90s would be down here, probably about in here-ish. But, I mean, obviously that's not going to match up either. And none of these numbers correlate. I mean, by the time you get down here, like say this is 111, these are into, see, the pinks and reds are like 200 and 300s. So yeah, the numbers definitely don't match. So that is incorrect. Now, they do have some similar colors, but here's the deal, guys. You're going to have similar colors in any brand. I could go pull out my Polychromos or Prismacolors, and I'm going to find a color match somewhere, especially with this array. 520 colors. You're going to find similar colors. So yes, they do have some similar ones. Let's take a look at these oranges here. So 005 and 004 could easily match up with some of these up here. I had found a purple not too long ago when I was testing this out. Okay, so 017 here does come pretty close to the ones in here. Again, you give me any brand of pencils, I could probably find some similar colors. So I really want to dispel this one real quick before we move forward, because it's all down to quality. These were not taken from these. These are a novelty item, and these are a completely different formula. These are creamy, they blend well, they're very vibrant colors, great selection, and they're square. These are not. These do not have the same creaminess whatsoever as these. By no means are these 520 even a rival to the quality of the 120. And that's saying a lot because they're both a budget pencil. But this has definitely been reformulated. It's not the same pencil. So I do want to dispel that because I've had quite a few people say that. And so I sat and compared, and the numbers do not align at all. Now I know these have had their names translated, but from what I recall, the names were pretty fun and cute. And I mean, they do have some interesting names here, but I mean, geranium could be in any set. Geranium is in actually a few sets I own, you know, so they're not the same pencil is what I'm trying to say. And even if for some reason the names match up, because the numbers definitely don't, if the names were to match up, the formula is by no means anywhere close. So hopefully that has gotten rid of that. All right, now it's time for the usual test sheet. Okay, it's a little crooked at the moment. Sorry for that. All right, so we have, I didn't write it up here because, well, we know what we're talking about, right? I've already shown you how they look on tan toned paper. I'll swatch some with you guys on black. But let's talk about layering. These do layer pretty well, but they're not heavily pigmented. They are oil-based, which means they're, you know, probably better for layering anyway. These are a lot dustier than, say, your 120 Brutes. I'm not going to compare to these to a Polychromos. That's not even the same class and not even worth it. So just keep that in mind. However, they are soft. They're just not as soft as a Brutfuner 120 square pencil, so keep that in mind. The coverage is pretty good though, and even after 5 layers, I could keep going, so that's always good. Pressure-wise, light pressure, you know, decent coverage. Medium, not too bad. Heavy still leaves a lot of tooth, and this is a smooth cardstock. So on a toothier cardstock, you will be adding a lot more. Now, I always like to do these ones with you guys live, well, recorded, just to show you. So smudge-wise, a pencil that's oil-based really shouldn't smudge a lot. You can get some smudge, but you shouldn't be just, you know, like a Prisma smudge. So using my finger, lots of pressure, I get like little to no smudge actually, and I'll zoom in maybe because that'll show it a little better, but very light amount, and that took pressure. So they do hold up like traditional oil-based pencils there. Now erasability is important because oil-based pencils will erase better than a wax-based. And these, I used heavy pressure when I put this down, by the way. These erase very well. However, these don't have a lot of pigment in them, so they're gonna come up a lot easier. There's that little disclaimer as well. Okay, so blending. I did a 3-color blend here just for fun using some blues. I also did a little gradient that I smoothed out with my Caran d'Ache. That's this one, colorless blender. They actually take to the colorless blender quite well. Fun fact. Now, I did a drag and blend test using the Prismacolor colorless blender. Oil-based pencils don't tend to drag very well in general, so it's really hard to like sit there and hold that as a con. That said, the color broke down a lot when I used this pencil as opposed to the Caran d'Ache one. See where it's nice and smooth? This color just started to break apart, and it did not drag at all. Polychromos don't drag either, fun fact. So, not a big deal. Water. Why are we testing water? Well, more and more of these budget brands are popping up, and, you know, a lot of them are water soluble, and depending on how you work it, maybe you're going to do a watercolor background. If you accidentally get water next to your color, is it going to run? That's actually a decent concern. Now, I would like to point out that even a Polychromos pencil will run a little, but it shouldn't turn into watercolor. So we're going to see how these ones run. I picked a reddish pink, a pink, and a blue, and we're going to test them out. Okay, so I have my water brush. I just need to get it wet again. Just using my Kuretake Zig. All right, so using this color, which is geranium, I'm gonna get that wet, and well, hello watercolor pencil. That lifted really well. Okay, shall we try the pink color, which is raspberry rose? Yep, look at that. That's a lot of running. Okay, now we're going to use our tile blue. Now these aren't dissolving exactly like a watercolor pencil, obviously, because they're leaving lines here, but that's a lot of bleeding. So keep that in mind. That is something to consider. So these are definitely a water soluble pencil that shouldn't be. Okay, so let's grab our black paper real fast. I have picked out one of the cream colors. It's actually number 1, called Anise Flower. Now the set does come with 2 whites, a Tofu and a brilliant white. So, oops, let me stay on frame. I did test these, I think, when I swatched, but I can't remember because I'm a little delirious from that whole swatch fest. But just to see how they look on black paper. They are very smooth on this black paper, though. So that's the Anise Flower. See how dusty they are, though? So that's 01. All right, now this is the Brilliant White. It's quite opaque, actually. Quite opaque. And that's 517. Now we have our Tofu. And this one's a little scratchy. So the Tofu is not as opaque. So the Brilliant White is pretty opaque. And then I can even show you like some of these other colors I have here. So like geranium. Just in case you want to see them on black paper. I'm using heavy pressure, so it will create some dust. Can even grab the raspberry rose. You know, there are coloring pages on black paper, so you never know. And there's canvases and sketchbooks in black. So if you're ever curious, this is at least a good test. This color actually looks really nice on the black, better than it does on the white. But yeah, there you go. So that's what those look like on there. Okay, I have colored with these. Like I said, I didn't do a portrait, but I did color. So the first one I did out of Johanna Basford's Christmas. I colored this entire castle using a ton of different blues from the set. Everything else is pan pastel. Ooh, my pan pastels need to be sprayed again. And Paul Rubens glitter watercolors, which I actually just did a swatch video on. And by the way, they actually look really good on the Johanna Basford paper and not so great on watercolor paper. Fun fact. But yeah, so all of this here and the castle is all done in the Brutfuner pencils. They did all right on this paper. They do require, I used my Caran d'Ache blender because I was just starting to get annoyed, but it's to be expected. All right, in Worlds of Wonder, I actually did a page as well. Just gonna find it. So I did this one using a bunch of purples and pinks and greens. Ignore my background. It did not turn out how I wanted. But they did blend really well. They work really well on this paper. It's just, you know, kind of meh. They're all right. They just don't have a ton of pigment. You know, polychromos, the Brutfuner squares would feel a lot better. But still, I was able to create some good effects. Excuse me, wood grain, purple blends. Purple is always a pain in the butt to blend. Great greens. So, I mean, they color nicely. So that's one thing to keep in mind, of course. That said, I mean, you have so many colors to choose from here that you could do, well, whatever you want. And it's going to take me a long time to put these in color family order because I started to get really annoyed as I noticed they were kind of just like, what is up with that? Like, we got purple, 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 what? This should be on this line. So, and I went in numerical order. So let's just kind of recap real quick, in case I didn't go over it. So here we have the Brutfuner 520 pencil. Now these do come in other sizes as well, but the 520 is the infamous one. There is no color dipped end. It is open core. I did have a few that were, the wood was breaking. I had actually a few with their core was just straight up shattered. It was one of my purples that I used in that Johanna Basford page. It was completely broken. No matter what I would do and sharpen, it just completely demolished on me. So these are, they have a glossy finish to their barrel. The silver writing is great on everything here except this number that doesn't necessarily mean a whole bunch. I really hate that the number to tell you what the pencil is stamped, and I don't even know if it's gonna show. Like, can you guys even see that? Let's see. Yeah, the number is so ridiculous, you can't even see it. I'm trying to find like a color where it would show. But yeah, it's just a stamped number in there. See it right there? There we go. It's catching the light so you can kind of see it. But that's the number. That's the number I had to use to put 520 pencils in order. Can you imagine how bonkers I was by the end of that? Pretty bonkers. It's about the same diameter as a Prismacolor almost. It's a 7.8 millimeter barrel. It's not bad. It is a 3.5 millimeter core, which is fairly competitive. 3.8 would be more competitive, but you know, whatever. So that's one thing to keep in mind. But yeah, other than that, really, the pros are they are soft, but they are not as soft as the square Brutfuner. So if you think you're going to be getting a square Brutfuner in 520 format, you'd be wrong. It's not the same formula at all. Yes, you can get some matching colors, but the fact is those Brutfuners, the square ones, are creamier. They don't perform like these. And like I said, I could tell me a set and I'll find you a comparable color. It's just a fact. There's no brand out there with 100% unique colors. Something's going to match it somewhere. So that's important. But they still are soft. They are softer than like a soooo color. Definitely softer than like Castle Art and all those. So they're soft, and I might even use them again. Actually, I will for the month of B in my alphabet coloring challenge. But you know, the cons are I did have some quality issues. A few of them were warped, like they were kind of bent. But again, I mean, 20 something cents a pencil. Can I really pick on that? No. And then they are dusty. And then another con is the availability. They are on Amazon right now for $129.98 as of August 12th. That's when I'm recording this, and I should hopefully post it soon after, which comes out to about 24 cents per pencil. Love my chicken scratch, don't ya? So, I mean, that's not bad. You are getting 520 pencils. So I know that's a huge price tag, but that's a huge number of pencils. And then they also do have that 10% off going right now. So that takes off like what, 12 bucks? I don't know. I don't do math. I'm a colorist and an artist. We don't math. So yeah, that's something to keep in mind. Now, again, I am just going to say, do you need these? No, absolutely not. However, if you are curious, or you want like a huge set of pencils that where you could run out of a color and just pick up the next one that's next to it because it's so darn close you would never know, this wouldn't be too bad. This set will last you for a very long time because they are oil-based. They actually wear down less than the square Brutfuners because they're not as soft. But that said, once you run out of, maybe say you blow through all these greens here, you don't have a lot of options for replacing them. So keep that in mind. You're either going to have to go find one of the 260 sets on AliExpress that have that color, or purchase the 520, and then you're spending $129 to replace a couple pencils. Like, is that worth it? You could take that money and go buy a set of polychromos. So if you want me to be honest, or you could buy, let's see, because Brutfuner squares are like, what, 28 bucks, 29 bucks US dollars? You could buy a whole bunch of those. And I would honestly recommend those over these. However, it's fun if you want to collect it, you know, or if you're just new to coloring and you want a huge selection of colors and this is the only set of pencils you're going to own, then that would make a lot more sense. But for me and my ridiculous number of pencils already, what am I doing? I honestly don't know. And that is why, my friends, originally I was going to give these away, but I'm going to keep them in my new art studio. I'll probably use Lindsay's awesome display case, put them on display as a constant reminder of my most ridiculous purchase, because this is just silly. So I'm going to leave it to you, my friends. I will leave a link in the description below to the ones on Amazon if you want to buy them. It is an affiliate link. You know, yes, I get a kickback. You don't pay any extra. It does help support my channel, but please, by no means buy these because I have bought them. You don't need them. Buy them because you want them or you're curious or whichever, but again, nobody needs this many pencils, and definitely not this many that are so close to one another. But if this is your starter set, then it might be the way to go. But yeah, I don't see a big point in it right now. That said, I have been toying with the idea of giving away a set if they stay on Amazon. So if they stay consistently on Amazon, maybe I'll do a giveaway one of these days with them. But until they're more consistent with where they're hanging out in the market, not gonna promise that. So if you have the 520s, let me know what you think. You know, if you kind of agree that this is a set that is definitely for the collector and not for much else, what you think of them. And totally correct me if I'm wrong on this theory, but I just do not agree that these are these at all. These are soft, these are creamy. There's night and day difference, and the numbers aren't matching up. Yes, the colors could match up, but we have 520 pencils. Of course one of these colors is going to match somewhere. It's just kind of a gonna happen thing. That said, another thing to consider is if you really want these, you can download the Honey app, put them on your drop list so Honey emails you. Maybe I'll try to remind myself to put a Honey link, but they'll email you when the price drops, because I had snagged mine for 90 something, I think 98.99. So I was shocked when they came back up at 129, but this tends to be what happens when a product is popular and people take advantage. So a couple weeks from now, when the hype dies down, they may go down. I want to see if they stick around before I decide to do any giveaways with this ridiculous set, so that I can give one of you like a crazy set of pencils that you may never actually use, but they look pretty on display. So yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out with me for this review. As always, I would love to hear your comments, opinions, and all that. Just remember, as always, I have a disclaimer at the beginning of these reviews that, shows up on the screen. This is my opinion. This is by no means the hard and fast rule to the Brutfuners. This is just my experience using them as, well, as a colorist on this. I have not used them in a sketchbook, but please keep that in mind. Everyone has their own opinions and likes, dislikes. So this is just simply how I feel about these pencils. So until next time, everyone, take care.